Hamlet broaches the subject of self-slaughter yet again in the play, though there seems to be a noticeable contrast in the way Hamlet thinks about suicide. How is Hamlet's contemplation of suicide here different from his contemplation of suicide in Hamlet's first soliloquy in the play? Hamlet's first soliloquy of the play, and his famous to be or not to be speech, discuss the same topic, but under different circumstances and in different ways. First of all, Hamlet's circumstances are different at the time of his first soliloquy than in Act 3, Scene 1. In Act 1, Scene 2, Hamlet is upset with his family. His father has recently died, reason enough to upset him, but in addition, his mother has just remarried with Hamlet's uncle. Hamlet's thoughts are occupied with his disgust for his mother's incestuous relationship and her personal character, and his grief over his father's death. The reason for Hamlet's melancholy is very specific to his particular situation. Hamlet's first soliloquy is angsty and not very relatable. Hamlet's soliloquy in 3.1, in contrast, expresses far more universal feelings. This soliloquy is far less of an angsty rant and far more of a commentary on death. The topics he covers here include fortune, suffering, troubles, the appeal of dreaming, and the fear of the unknown when facing death. These emotions are more relatable and universal than his frustration over his family affairs. In 1.2, Hamlet's desire for death is so strong that only his father's... In 1.2, Hamlet's desire for death is so strong that only his faith is keeping him from committing suicide. He exclaims that the everlasting had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter. Since his religion does not condone suicide, Hamlet holds back and continues his miserable life, but only for that reason. In Act 3, Scene 1, however, Hamlet makes an argument for living. He is more level-headed, noting the fear of the unknown that accompanies death as a part of his argument. This Hamlet is more moderate and thoughtful than the Hamlet at the beginning of the play, a miserable and utterly hopeless man. He is now more logical, laying out his thoughts clearly and debating his points. In 1.2, he is more emotional and seems almost in agony. In comparing, that this too sullied flesh would melt, to his later, more analytical, to be or not to be, that is the question, we can see how Hamlet's mentality has shifted, and that he's evolved as a person over the past two acts.
Question 3. What fardels or burdens does Hamlet suggest man must bear while alive? Given these calamities, what keeps man from ending his sea of troubles? In 3.1, lines 70 through 76, this is the excerpt that directly correlates with what the question is asking. Quickly reading through it. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit of the unworthy take when he himself might his quietus make with the bare bodkin? So going through it, just in a more plain and simpler English to answer the question in a more understandable way, for who would bear oppression, arrogance, pride, unrequited love, lack of justice, and poor government.
If a baby were president, there would be no taxes, there would be no war, there would be no government, and things could get terrible. And actually, probably, it would be a better screenplay idea than a serious suggestion.